to Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for me to do the wrap-up of the fourth quarter. So I'm still trying to think about if I want to keep doing it this way for 2024, or if I want to go back to monthly wrap-ups. Because the problem is I keep forgetting to do the wrap-ups. And then I will, and there are still a lot of books that I might not remember everything about. I might remember my initial feelings about the book, but I might not remember the details of the book to, give you guys a summary and to explain why I felt the way I did about the book. I don't always remember because it's so long in between quarters that it's like, it slips my mind. And now I did this because it takes off the pressure. And it's like, but I do know that it's invisible pressure I'm putting on myself. I don't have to read like 10 or 20 books within the month. I can read as many books as I want. I can read 2 or 3 books a month, or even just one, and if I stick to monthly wrap-ups, I'll probably remember things better. So I'm kind of leaning towards going back to that, and just try not to worry about the pressure, and not prioritize not think about how many books I'm reading in the month. Even if I read just one good book, that should be fine, and not to worry about it. And just because, like I said, I don't always remember what I read and why I felt the way I felt about the book. Like, I even had trouble with some of the books, talking about some of the books for my favorites list. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Go back to monthly wrap-ups. But anyway, so the fourth quarter consists of October, November, and December. Now, in December, I do not read Christmas books. I'm not a Christmas book reader. The only Christmas book I've ever read is A Christmas Carol. Oh, and I did read Hidden Sea, which is kind of a Christmas book. It's the origins of the Nutcracker story, and there are a couple other books that I've considered reading for, that are Christmassy, but like I don't read Christmas romances. I just rather watch Hallmark movies. But so there were no Christmassy books that I read in Christmas. I did read 4 short stories in October, which were Edith Warren's The Lady's Maid's Bell, the eyes in Afterward, and the Mosque of the Red Death. So, as you guys remember, I read 2 of the short stories from Edith Warren's Ghost Stories collection for you guys, and I attempted to read a 3rd one from that collection, but then I got interrupted, and it was just too long of a story. I was exhausted. I didn't want to read anymore, so I decided, okay, I want to film something for you guys. I want to film reading a story for you guys, but I'm going to pick a shorter one. So I picked, so that's when I read Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. I love that short story. I love the descriptions of the party and all the different color themes of each room. I like how it explores the idea of trying to run away from death, and how death takes this physical form and is like, I'm not letting you get away with that. You're not escaping me. Which I feel like a lot of like horror and fantasy can really explore that theme of trying to run away from death, but realizing you can't escape death. And I ended up, like I said, I DNF'd the ghost stories, and originally I was going to DNF Edith Wharton as a whole author, because her stories, even though I do enjoy some of them, I've enjoyed 2 of her novels, I was just kind of like, they weren't like Age of Innocence. I thought was a favorite, but over time I've kind of realized it's not really a favorite. And I do like her writing. And actually, I had just finished season 2 of Gilded Age, where some of the actresses brought up Edith Wharton because she kind of was known. She was part of that time period, and she's, all of her books are about that time period. She really captures it. I think she was from that time period, and Julian Fellows, the creator of the show, is a big fan of hers. He was inspired by her, so that motivated me to pick her up again and try her again. So I might read one of her books for this month. And maybe her novels, because I still like Age of Innocence. Now the only problem is I had just realized that I might have accidentally given away Custom of the Country, which I know I bought it, but I can't find it on my shelf, so I might have accidentally donated that without realizing it. So I'll have to look at my shelves again one more time. There is a bag of books and I'm not sure if I want to donate just yet or not. And I also read at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, I read The Indiana Trilogy by Philip Chase. I really enjoyed that. I did a review for that one, so I'm not going to say a lot about it, but it's really great fantasy. It was, a great fantasy debut trilogy for Philip Chase, I think. And no, I'm not best buds with Philip Chase. I do watch his channel. I've enjoyed his videos, but I'm not, I genuinely enjoyed it of my own free will. I'm sorry, there was a review that someone drew my attention to that review, and I read it because I was curious about it, and they accused the people who love that book as, the only reason they love that book is because they're friends with the author. And it's no, you do not know that. You just assume that because you didn't like the book, so you assume the only reason anyone else would love that trilogy or that first book is because they're friends, which is really stupid and insulting to the reader, because it accuses, it says the only reason that the reader will love that book, and it's insulting to the author too. I get it, you don't like that, you didn't enjoy it, you're entitled to your opinion. I get that you have criticisms of his writing and stuff and don't love that book, but you know what? That doesn't give you the right. You have no idea what these other people think about this book. You cannot assume. You're not psychic. I mean, if you can read their minds, then good for you. That would be very impressive. So that review, just kind of reading that review, it was a mistake for me to read that because that review pissed me off. And it's illogical. But anyway, so basically, I'm telling you guys, I don't know Philip Chase. I've commented in his videos. He's responded to my comments on occasion, once or twice, but I don't have a personal relationship with him. Yes, I happen to like his channel and his reviews, but I don't know him at all, so I don't owe him anything. But I happen to have enjoyed this trilogy and thought it was amazing and had a good time. I'm allowed to enjoy it. And then I did a review, and now again, it was really cool that he actually responded to my review, and he showed his appreciation, so that was very flattering. I really, that made me feel special, for a second. But yeah, that, like I said, that review pissed me off because that was so judgmental of this person, and it's they're mad, and it just shows that they're petty and that they're just mad because they don't like it. They did not like it, and they don't think it's very good, and yet they're, so they're taking out their anger on these people who love it and are assuming that the only reason why they think it's good is because they know Philip Chase, which is total BS. But anyway, so I don't have the book with me, the trilogy, because I didn't read it via Kindle Unlimited, so I chose to walk away from Kindle Unlimited and just stick to buying books. But anyway, so I attempted to I ended up not really participating in Victober. Like I said, I don't know if Henry James is The Turn of the Screw is Victorian literature, but I did read that one. That one's really spooky and has a haunted house, creepy kids, a ghost story to it. It's can't trust the narrator kind of scenario, and it's really, I liked it better than I thought I would. I had a good time. It was very atmospheric and just really fun in a creepy way. So the last book I read was for October, was not a horror book, but it does deal with something that's that can be terrifying especially for parents, and it also deals with it explores the idea of being so excited about your kid and wanting to celebrate them and show them off on social media that you kind of don't think about the fact that you're exposing your kids to everybody and how, like, the dangers of that. And, like, anyone that is really, tech savvy can use that to their advantage and exploit you and the children. So you have our main character who was abandoned by his father, so we explore abandonment issues, and he's raised by his mom, and he's very close with his mom, and he needs to love his life, and they have a son who they name after his father, and the father who abandoned him, and we also, and his wife Emma starts getting paranoid and suspecting that their child is not really their child, but all our main character can see is their precious little boy, and it kind of ruins their relationship. And it's a big question. Is Emma crazy, or is something really going on that he doesn't see? And I think this allows the book to explore postpartum depression, and is she just experiencing postpartum depression, or, like I said, is she really seeing something that her husband is not seeing? Like, is this really not their child? And normally I'm not a big fan of stories where it's like, is the person crazy or not, and is there something really supernatural? Because I'm always worried that the author's gonna be like, psych, there's no supernatural, the person is just crazy. Like, I don't like that when you think that, oh my god, something really supernatural or something is going on, and then you find out, oh no, there's nothing really crazy. There's nothing crazy going on. It's just the person. There's nothing supernatural going on. The person's just crazy. Like, that ends up being a disappointment to me. So that was the last book that I read in October. So that was really good. A very dark story. I do want to read one of his other books, The Ballad of Black Tom, which is kind of inspired by H.P. Lovecraft stories. And then for November, this was the nonfiction November, and I actually read some nonfiction. This was when I read the In Search of Mary Shelley, which is on my best books list. I just filmed that video, and then but I started the month with reading The Knights Templar, a captivating guide to the powerful military order and their impact on the Crusades by Captivating History. So that's a really long title. So I mostly say the history of the Knights Templar. And this was pretty good. I am a fan of learning about the Knights Templar and understanding them. Like, I don't know a lot about, like, I'm one of those people that is very intrigued by the Knights Templar and hears all this stuff, but is not sure what's true and what isn't. It's just such a fascinating subject. And I'm always one for conspiracy. I'm always fascinated by history, conspiracy theories, and all these mysteries and rumors about the Knights Templar. And this talks about how they were really good at their finances, how they were the protectors of Europe, and it looks at the rumors about them having a hoard of treasures, and like which rumors are true and which aren't. And you look at how strong these guys are, and how, like, the Pope kind of exploited the Pope and the King kind of exploited them and used them, but it's just in how kind of they ran things amongst their own, and just it was such a fascinating read. And it's a good start if you want to learn more about the Knights Templar. There are probably better books and more interesting books, and like books that really dive deep into the Knights Templar and who they are. And then this is when I read Rosemary's Baby, which I talked about also in my favorites. Again, I read that on Kindle. It deals with the occult and devil worship, and the idea of, like, this woman maybe giving birth to the devil's baby, the devil's child, and it's really creepy and unsettling, but it's also really it's a disturbingly fun read, just, and I'm so glad I'm really enjoying this project of reading books based on that, reading these books that are, that were, the inspiration for a lot of classic horror movies, and reading their original source material. So, and that's not that I read another one earlier this year that's also another one, that's also on that list. So I will talk about that in a minute. And then this is when I read the other nonfiction, In Search of Mary Shelley by Fiona Shaw, which dives into who Mary Shelley was, her relationship with her father, she was very close with him, her relationship with her stepsister, and with Percy Shelley, and and Byron, and what inspired her work, and what a fascinating woman she was. And it was really cool to dive deep and get to know who Mary Shelley was and learn more about her as a person. It isn't until I started watching Jennifer Brooks' channel that I kind of got a taste of who Mary Shelley was, and this definitely adds on to it. Although, like Jennifer Brooks, I was a little bit surprised and disappointed by the length of this book. I feel like I'm surprised it was so short. And then I read the second book in the Saxon series in November. And this was really good. I'm really enjoying this series. I'm having a good time with it. Again, I still really love the characters. I love all the new female characters that they added. We've met another king in waiting, and it was so much fun to read. It's so much fun to read this story and explore this world. Oh wait, no, we didn't meet the other king until book 3, I think, because I read book 2, so I think, yeah, I read book 3 in December. So the other king we do not meet until December, until I read the third book, which I read in December. So I really enjoy both those. I'm having a really good time with the series. It's very exciting, action-packed. I enjoy the characters. I mean, I don't entirely enjoy the way female characters are looked at in the book, but this is a time when females were not treated that great all the time. So it's historical. How much you can't really change the past. And then you can only just try to do better. I feel like that's the only thing you can do. You can't erase the past, but you can just try to do better and make sure we don't repeat the past. And then I read another book on my Kindle. The last book in November was also a book on my Kindle, The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods, and I love this book. This was so much fun. This is another one that was a very cozy book, and and one of the subplots I really liked was the idea of that maybe, I think it was Charlotte Bronte was working on another novel before she died. That I think is really fascinating. And it could have happened. It could have actually been true, because there are quite a few authors that were working on other books right before they died. They just didn't get to finish them. Like Elizabeth Gaskell, Wives and Daughters was the book that she was working on, and she never finished it. So someone finished it for her. I think Edith Wharton was working on Buccaneers, and someone finished it for her. Charles Dickens did not finish Edwin Drood. I don't think anyone finished it for him, though. But there's a lot of, Doctor Who is one of the many shows that kind of explores, what could have happened in the book, how the book could have gone by, looking at the idea of an author, with the Doctor taking Rose back into the past when Charles Dickens was alive, and writing, they come across him, and there's these blue alien ghost-type creatures that they encounter, and they inspire Charles Dickens for writing Edwin Drood, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. I'm trying to think there might be some other authors out there that have written books but never got to finish them because they were working on them right before they died. So I think that is a really cool concept to think about, like the idea in a morbid kind of way. I like the rain. Again, it was another dual timeline story. You know, that wasn't the main focus of the story. The main focus of the story was these two different women. One has escaped an abusive relationship, and I think it's in modern day, and she ends up at this home of this elderly woman who's very eccentric. She's an actress, and she ends up staying there, and the woman's house ends up also being the original spot of this bookshop that used to be in that location. And our modern day woman, whose name escapes me, this guy, you know, she runs into this guy that is I think he's a journalist, and he's trying to investigate this mysterious bookshop. And he shows up, and the two of them, slowly over time, they get to know each other, and they try to figure out the mystery behind this. But they both he is engaged to a girl that he is falling out of love with, and realize that he kind of rushed that relationship, and she is just got out an abusive one. So it's like, they don't want to jump into a relationship right away, but they're developing feelings for each other. I mean, like, let me scratch that. She doesn't want to jump into a relationship, but she starts developing feelings for him, and then he is engaged to another woman, and he's technically emotionally cheating on her to be with this other woman, and he doesn't want to he's not sure if he wants to jeopardize his current relationship, or at least even if he has fallen out of love with his fiance, he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to cheat on her, but he kind of already emotionally is. And then they are he's also trying to learn more about the woman who ran the bookshop, and she's this woman who ran away from her brother arranging her marriage to a friend of his. And this is the other storyline, set in the 1920s, and she ends up here in, I think it's Scotland that they're in, and decides to open up this bookshop. And first she goes to France and works at Shakespeare and Company, which I don't know if that exists in Paris or not. I don't know the history of that bookshop, but I know it exists. Shakespeare and Company is an actual store. And she ends up having this French gentleman who becomes her lover, but she's not sure if she can trust him. He's a bit of a ladies' man, and he's a bit of a book collector. And which is funny that book kind of also explores the concept of book collecting, like The Changeling does. And although it's kind of more involved in the story than it is with The Change. Well, maybe. Well, actually, no, it's kind of about the same. But her brother shows up and kidnaps her and forces her, is like, you're gonna marry my friend whether you like it or not. But she ends up, her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, and her co-worker at Shakespeare and Company find out, and they help her escape, and she has to go and hide in Scotland. And coincidentally, I think James Joyce is the author that her co-worker knows, is friends with, and she ends up, it was either him or the boyfriend was friends with him. But although he doesn't make an appearance in the story, he's like, because it turns out he's not there anymore. So, which I think is really funny that they throw that name out there, but then the guy isn't even there. The character doesn't even make an appearance. Like, at the last minute, the author changed her mind or something. So I find that a little weird. And, and she ends up finding this bookshop owned by this guy, and that she starts to have a crush on as they work on the bookshop together, but he is a married man with kids, and so she can't pursue that relationship. And then World War II happens. Or actually, no, her brother finds her again after she's built her new life and is really enjoying herself and really building this bookshop, and her brother finds her again. And it just, Okay, I'm gonna stop there because I just realized I'm basically telling you guys the whole story. Um, so I'm gonna stop there and just tell you this book is really good. If you love books and the history of books and a woman finding herself and finding her place in the world, even in dark times, like I think this is really a good book. Um, and there's a little bit of romance in there, and just like it's just really good. And well, more than a little bit of romance, but there's romance in the story, and it's just so good. Such a page turner. Like there was a part in the book, a section in the book that was very hard to read, but still worth the read. And it was just really good, and very heartbreaking at times, and just it was really fun, and I definitely recommend checking it out. So December was when, okay, so I read Anglo-Saxon. I read that most of November, but I finished that right in December, like the first couple days of December. And that was really good. That is all my best books, but I'm not gonna even, because it's just very like I don't remember everything about the book. I just remember my initial feelings. And I did talk about it and give you guys a summary of what's about in my best books, so I don't want to do that again. So, like I said, some of these books, just watch my video on best books of 2023, and then you'll hear my thoughts a little bit more on some of these books. But Anglo-Saxon Attitudes by Angus Wilson is really good. It like looks at the whole what is English and what is in the English versus un-English. It's a very interesting topic. It does have an academic feel as well, and it looks at the idea of something being like about history, and how what if you find out something in history that was discovered long ago is not accurate? Do you owe it to reveal the truth about it, or just leave it be? Especially if you know the person that is. Oh, okay, sorry about that spotlight down there, in the corner. But yeah, it was really good, and I like the writing, and I love the academic setting. I love stories that have an academic setting. Like The Weight of Ink was another one that had a really great academic setting. I think I read that in quarter 3. And then like I said, I read, okay, and so I listened to Good Omens on audiobook. I was just looking for an audiobook because I haven't listened to an audiobook in a while. And I thought it was fun. I liked that it was a full cast audio. I think it was kind of ruined by the fact that I had to kept messing with the timing. Like I kept like it was sped up from a previous audiobook that I was trying to rush to get through it. And it ended up being like I think kind of took away some of the fun of listening to the story for the first part. And I did eventually adjust the speed back to normal. And it was fun. It was very funny. I like the relationship between the two. The angel. I don't know how to say his name. The angel and the demon. But I think I would probably enjoy the story more if we get the TV show. I definitely think I need to watch the show. I think I would have more of a fun time with watching the show and getting to the story through that. But I didn't hate the book. Like I enjoyed listening to it. It's just it wasn't like it was just okay, and it did feel like a radio drama. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, it just ended up being a little bit of a disappointment, and I just need to, I think I would enjoy the show more. I mean, maybe if I actually physically read the book, I might have enjoyed that more. Which usually, I think, in most cases, people are like, listen to the audiobook over reading the book for some, especially even as, mixed media and stuff like that. Like, if it has a podcast or mixed media format, then yeah, I definitely suggest an audiobook. But in this case it wasn't. It was just a regular written book. And there were times when it was very confusing because the author, it jumped around a lot. And it was just I enjoyed it, but at the same time, like, I think I could have enjoyed it more if I watched the show, which I do plan to watch the show. And like I said, I kind of already talked a little bit about Lords of the North, the third book in the Saxon series. I think what I'll probably do is do an overall review of the whole series. Because there are a lot of books in that series. And let's see, I also read Mor'du, and Mor'du was so much fun. It reminded me at times of a Dickens novel, especially like of Oliver Twist, when our main character gets mixed up with a gang of thieves. It had a very Oliver Twist vibe in the beginning, but then when he's with the master, it got more interesting and engaging. It was you could tell this kid was being manipulated, I feel like, and just seeing his struggle and trying to grow up and understand his powers, especially like his power to bring life and take life, the spark as he calls it. That would be absolutely terrifying, but also kind of like in a, I could see where for some people it could be actually really like fun. You could have the power of someone's life in your hands. As scary that can be scary, but also like if you're, a part of you would probably enjoy that kind of power in a very just twisted kind of way. And like I said, I think it was such a really engaging story. It was very slow. You could tell the author was originally wrote more literary books, because just the way he wrote things and described things, it feels very like the type of sentence you would find what books that are considered literary. I like there was a lot of intrigue with the master and who he was and what his deal was and why he's like in his like has a fear of Nathaniel. One of those where Nathaniel might be more powerful than he is. I really like the talking object for a companion instead of an animal. We have this magical talking book. That was really fun, and I like how he kept correcting Nathaniel when he referred to the book as you, like the book wasn't like a human, and he was like, "Nope, I'm not a human. I'm an it. I'm not you." He kept correcting him, reminding him, "I'm a book." Although there is a certain twist to the deal with the book, which is a little creepy. And the magic of the whole spark thing was really interesting, and I like how Nathan's relationship with everybody was a little shaky. Like it got shooken up a little bit in the middle of the story when he realized he might have been betrayed, and people were only using him for his magic, for his spark. And I do, and I would love to see this be turned into like a movie or a TV show. I think that would be really fun. And the ending, oh my god, I did not see that coming. I mean, I kind of had a deal was that was going to happen because I kind of let myself get spoiled by reading the description of book 2. But I did not think it would actually, like, I was thinking it would be one of these things where, like, it's like, oh, this really didn't happen. And we're just pretending we're making it look like it happened, but it didn't really happen. Like, I thought it would be one of those kinds of endings, but nope. It really did happen, I think. And, we'll find out what happens next in book 2. Okay, so I was actually able to finish 2 more books before the end of the year. So we have In the Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Whale Ship Essex by Nathaniel Philbrook. So if you read Moby Dick or watched the movie adaptation, then this is the book. This is the particular tragedy that inspired Herman Melville, because this is the actual tragedy of a whale ship where it got battered by a whale, and then they ended up getting lost at sea. They lost their ship, the Essex, and they got lost at sea and had to find a way to survive for several days in the middle of the ocean. And they did find some islands to stay at, but it wasn't it wasn't hospitable, or I don't know what word I'm trying to think of. It wasn't safe, basically, and they had to survive. And it's, it was really tense, and I didn't know who was going to survive. I mean, obviously there were at least 2 people in that I knew who could survive, because the author of this book, he got his sources from their memoirs of the experience of being on the whale ship Essex. So we know that they survived, but we don't know how everybody else survived. And it was a terrifying read. And now, if you're an animal person, I mean, I am an animal person, but, unless I get the visual, it's not going to bother me. But if you're an animal person, then there are aspects of it, like the detail on the way, how whaling, what they did to catch the whales, and what they did to get the blubber and everything, and skin them and all that. That is very descriptively detailed. The way he describes it, it's very graphic. So not everybody's gonna love that part. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see how it's done, though, even though it's very disturbing at the same time. I do want to see the adaptation. It looked really good. I remember when it came out, and I thought it had to do with Moby Dick, and it kind of does, indirectly. So I would like to see it in the Heart in the Sea. So the last book I read was the other horror book from that list of horror books that I want to read, that are based on, that were books that got turned into movies and now are mostly known for their movie adaptations. And that is Psycho by Robert Bloch. This is the, story of Norman Bates and living with his mother in a motel. This woman, Mary Crane, who stole some money for her boyfriend, shows up at the motel. He becomes aroused and attracted to her, and that is traumatizing to him. That's not good. And his mom finds out, and she kills the girl. And so her boyfriend, the woman's boyfriend, and her sister, and the detective hired by her boss that she stole from, decide to investigate. And it's creepy and has a mama's boy type situation going on. It's very disturbing to be in Norman Bates' head, and like I said, I don't know if every other woman would want to be in his head, but he was the most fascinating character in the whole story. Lila, the sister of the woman who gets killed, is also really interesting too. I definitely was on her side on the issue. I do like how to handle the situation. Like, if my sister was in danger, I would not want to sit here and wait around. I would want to try to do something to see, because I couldn't just sit there waiting. I would have to take action myself. And it's creepy and unsettling. Robert Bloch creates this amazing atmosphere. Now, I do know the twist and what happens and everything, but I do feel like if you don't know the twist, the author does a great job at building it up and making you question things in the story and wondering what is really going on. What is going on with Norman and his mother? Is there, did the mother die or not? Is all I'm gonna say. And it's really good, and it deals with the relationships between a mother and son, and the unhealthiness of the relationship between Norman and his mother, and it's tragic for him. And like I said, he's the most fascinating character. You kind of feel bad for him. Of course, then you realize he's a very disturbing person, and the way he thinks about women is very hateful and disgusting. So maybe that will take away any pity for him. But I think you can pity someone and not like them at the same time. Like, I feel sorry for him that he never got away from his mother. He could never escape her. And he was just, he needed help. And it's very an Oedipus complex going on here. And like I said, I do think it adds to the scariness of it when you're set in a place that's very isolated, this random motel. This guy seems normal to everybody else. And like I said, I think, and also it helps that you are inside Norman's head for part of the book. You are with him. oftentimes in the story. Like, part of this, half the story is told from his perspective. So I think it adds the suspense and the creepiness, and you realize that Norman knows things, understands things that he, most people don't. The rest of the male characters were just I didn't hate Sam, but I didn't love him either. And I felt like he truly did not love Mary, and I think he kind of figured that out. He realized, or at least he realized, he didn't really know Mary as well as he thought he did. They didn't get enough time to develop a relationship, I feel like. But although it doesn't help that this traumatic thing happened, it didn't really give him a chance. I feel like we really didn't get to know Mary at all because she wasn't around that long. And then, like I said, as for Lila, I liked her. She was very passionate, really loved her sister, and will do anything for her. She's a little reckless. She's very laid back and very, like I said, very passionate person. While Mary, who, what we do know about her, she comes out as very nurturing. She took care of her sister after their mom was not in the picture anymore. And it's just really, so we do know a little bit, but not enough for me to get attached to her character. She was not around long enough for that. And, the detective was okay. He was just one of the typical gritty gumshoe type character, like very hard ass type. Like I said, great setting. I like that the motel is isolated. And of course, it helps that like I said, I've seen bits and pieces of the movie, so I can picture this all in my head. Like I said, it might just be because of the movie adaptation. I've seen parts of it. The original black and white one, not the remake with Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche. But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's very creepy, and it is on my list of favorites for 2023, along with Rosemary's Baby, and which, by the way, there's a sequel to both of them. But anyway, that's really, I think it's worth, if you have seen those movies, or you're familiar with those movies, please check out the books. They're really good, I mean, yeah, you might know the twists of the movies and everything, but the books are still well written and still really engaging and page turning, even if you know the mystery. And maybe that takes away the page turning element to them, but I think it's still a really good, riveting read, and you really get to know the characters a lot more. And there's stuff that might not have been in the adaptation, they changed or took out. But anyway, I'm glad I read this, and I don't know when. I don't know. I'm thinking about. I think I might read The Exorcist next. We will see. I'm gonna see how much it is on Kindle, because like I said, I don't Kindle Unlimited. Although I don't think it was on Kindle Unlimited anyway. So even if I kept Kindle Unlimited, I would still have to pay for it. But that might be the next book, or maybe The Omen or something. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway. So that's kind of a wrap up of quarter 2. Of quarter 4. So like I said, I'm probably going to just stick to monthly wrap ups again, see how that goes. And I hope that you guys had a good 2023 of reading, and I hope you're looking forward and have good feelings about 2024 with your reading. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't. Click the bell notification button below if you want to be notified when I upload my videos. And I hope you, like I said, I hope you are enjoying your first reads of 2024. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!